Food safety, is that something that consumers don't worry too much about, but the industry does?
I think that both consumers and industry actually think quite heavily about food safety. At the end of the day, no one wants to eat something and get ill. I think from the New Zealand perspective, from the industry perspective, industry are very well aware of the importance in food safety, because at the end of the day, they can't sell food that is unsafe to eat. It's not good for business. So yes, it's vital.
So I guess we look at procedures as well as the end user?
I think that the sort of work that we do at Lincoln, and indeed that I've done in the past, actually involves pretty much the whole food chain. You can, it's important, I think, to try and consider hurdles at different levels to get the best possible effect.
Now, we're talking about bacteria, and my understanding is that it doesn't necessarily affect the host animal, but it does affect humans.
The problems don't manifest themselves in the host animal, that's for sure, for the most part. But it's when they hop into humans, most commonly through the ingestion of contaminated food or water, that's when the problems actually start, many of them. So if it adds another area of complexity to the whole issue. You're basically fighting against nature. They're quite natural in a host organism, in a host animal, but when they get into people, then they become problematic.
Do they change? So when you're fighting bacteria, do they actually sort of morph into something new?
They're very. I think one of the reasons that I'm so committed to microbiology is that microbes are fascinating in terms of their adaptive capability. They can certainly adapt very quickly to environmental change. And if they don't adapt, then quite often new variants can simply overtake the population, and they become suddenly a problem organism.
So that's a sort of resistance.
You could say that. That certainly happens with some agents more than others. Antibiotic resistance is, of course, reasonably well known, and we've seen, not so much in New Zealand, but certainly internationally, we've seen a significant increase in the number of antibiotic resistant bacteria right across the world, and that's been a big and increasing problem over many years.
We hear a lot about Campylobacter, and of course, especially during the barbecue season.
You do indeed. I guess Campylobacter is the most common bacterial cause of food poisoning throughout the world, in actual fact. Unfortunately, in New Zealand, we do have quite a high incidence of it. I think we're second highest on the table right now. We were first. We've had a significant reduction over the last few years. There's been some very good, noble efforts made by industry, and the regulators have done a good job too. Everyone's played their part, but I think it's still very high, and there's more work that needs to be done.
Is it after you bought it from the supermarket, or is it before it gets to the supermarket?
I don't know that you could focus on both. I think that the issues are in both. I mean, at the end of the day, the animals are being produced, and they harbour quite naturally Campylobacter as part of their normal bacterial flora. Obviously, the problems actually occur once the consumer has consumed the contaminated food. So it's actually at both ends of the food chain that the issues are.
We do get told to cook our chicken well.
Yep. That's what I do at home. Absolutely.
So the take-home message is for people to really cook their chicken well.
That's certainly one of them. I mean, the Ministry for Primary Industries have some very commonsensical guidelines on their website, and they're very prudent. One of the things that I think people don't realise about Campylobacter is that you can cook it as much as you like, but if you've prepared it on a particular surface and that surface hasn't been washed or decontaminated in any way, that can actually act as a reservoir for contaminating other things. And we believe, just because of the quite small numbers of bacterial cells that you need to become ill, we think that cross-contamination is actually quite a significant problem in terms of the incidence of Campylobacteriosis in the home.
So be scared and careful?
Not necessarily. I think be careful rather than be scared. If you're careful and you prepare things appropriately and they're cooked properly, cooked bacteria, dead bacteria don't cause the problems. Live ones do.